My mother bought acne treatment cream for Lily. I warned her not to let Lily use that 3-No product as it could cause cancer. My mother cursed me for wishing ill upon Lily, then slapped me, sending me tumbling into the edge of a table. The sharp corner pierced my eye. Fresh blood streamed down my face, frightening Lily into a faint. My mother, worried for Lily, scooped her up and rushed her to the hospital. She didn't spare me a single glance, making me miss the best time for treatment. I tried to beg for care, but my mother hit me again, rupturing my eardrum. From then on, I became a one-eyed, half-deaf wretch, doomed to a life in the mud. When I opened my eyes again, my mother was twisting open the lid of the treatment cream. I watched as she happily applied the cream to Lily's face, then quietly slipped away. Ding dong, this is the special treatment cream your mother carefully selected and bought for you on WeChat. It has so many good reviews. Not only is it effective for acne, but it can also improve skin tone. I bought a course of treatment for you to try first. If it works, I'll buy more. A voice, both familiar and strange, echoed in my ear. I looked up at the person speaking in front of me and my pupils constricted. It was my mother, younger. My gaze swept past her to my sister, standing opposite, her face covered in acne. I realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the fateful day of my previous life, the day I began my descent into hell. I remembered on this day in my previous life, I had warned my mother not to let Lily use the 3-No product because it could cause cancer. My mother had cursed me for wishing ill upon Lily, then slapped me, sending me tumbling into the edge of the table. The sharp corner pierced my eye, and fresh blood streamed down my face, frightening Lily into a faint. My mother, worried about Lily's heart condition flaring up, scooped her up and rushed her to the hospital, not bothering to look at me once. By the time my mother remembered me, I had missed the best time for treatment. My mother said, "If it can't be cured, then don't waste any more money." She complained to the doctor that the family was already burdened enough with one daughter who had to take medication all year round. Now, with another, it would be unbearable. My mother wiped her tears, asked the doctor for some anti-inflammatory medicine, and took me home. I didn't want to be a one-eyed, half-blind person. I cried and refused to go. Seeing this, my mother felt humiliated, raised her large hand, and slapped my face forcefully. After an intense pain, my ear rang. Outside sounds seemed replaced by a constant hum, separated by an insurmountable glass bell. Gradually, even the hum completely disappeared. My eardrum was ruptured. From then on, I became a disabled person, half-deaf and half-blind, a disgrace to the family. And a disgrace had to be eradicated. So, after they had exploited me until I was completely drained, they happily killed me. Thinking of the tragic end of my previous life, my eyes flashed with burning hatred. Reborn, of course, I wouldn't make the same mistakes. So, when my mother applied the 3-No product to Lily's face, I didn't try to stop her as I had in my previous life. Instead, I quietly picked up my school bag and walked towards my room. But I stopped at the door. My room had been turned into a study. My mother coughed lightly, her voice full of guilt echoing behind me. "Your sister is in her final year of high school and needs her own study space, so I've changed your room into a study. Your belongings have all been moved to the storage room. In my previous life, the accident happened, and I didn't have the chance to reach this door, so I didn't know about this. This room was originally the smallest and darkest in the house. Now, they didn't even want to spare that room for me." I turned around, my gaze cold as I looked at my mother. After 3 seconds of silence, my lips curled into a faint, cold smile. I casually said, "The final year of high school is indeed very important. Making a study room for Lily is the right thing to do." My mother avoided my gaze, seemingly unwilling to face me. After I finished speaking, my mother's tense body relaxed, and she smiled. "That's right, your sister is in her final year and has a weak heart. If you make a fuss and upset her, it would make your father and me very awkward." My mother's words were untrue. My father and mother would use their fists and slaps to make me submit. How could they be awkward? I smiled without speaking, turned, and walked into the cramped storage room. After closing the door, I couldn't wait any longer and opened my books to study. Knowledge changes destiny. This is an eternal truth. In my previous life, I didn't have this opportunity. In this life, no one can stop me from pursuing my studies. The storage room had no windows and was very stuffy. After finishing 2 sets of exam papers, I opened the door, intending to go out for some fresh air. As my hand touched the doorknob, I heard my mother's soft voice outside. "Lily, eat quickly, otherwise, when Mia comes out, you'll have to share one of these 2 chicken drumsticks with her. She's as strong as an ox. I don't know why she's so thick-skinned, always wanting to fight you for food." My father lowered his voice in agreement. "Your mother is right, eat quickly. I don't want to share the chicken drumstick I bought for you with her. Last time I asked her to get me a pack of cigarettes from the store and she refused. Such a selfish girl and ungrateful wretch." Hearing these words, I almost couldn't resist opening the door to refute. Get it for him, it was clearly stealing. My sister, however, acted understanding. "Thank you, father and mother, for loving me so much. But Mia is my sister. If she really comes out, I'd be happy to share with her." My mother laughed. "I know Lily is a kind-hearted sister, but you don't need to be kind to your sister. She doesn't deserve it." My parents worried that they would have no one to care for them in their old age, and I almost didn't even get born. So, they always told me that Lily was my benefactor, and I had to yield to her. Outside, my parents kept urging Lily to eat quickly. Inside, I turned the doorknob, lifted my head, and stepped out. The smile on my mother's face froze. My father looked angry, his eyes full of irritation. My sister, who was gnawing on a drumstick, also paused, her greasy lips awkwardly pressed together. The atmosphere suddenly became silent, as if time had stopped. I found it somewhat amusing. It was just a chicken drumstick, yet they acted as if it were a divine elixir. Was it worth it? I pretended not to notice their awkwardness, calmly walked into the bathroom, then returned to the storage room to study. After the door closed, my father clicked his tongue twice. "Why isn't that girl making a fuss? She must have taken the wrong medicine." I smiled coldly to myself. Make a fuss about what? I was no longer the foolish little girl from my previous life, still hoping for my parents' love. After dinner, I washed dishes in the kitchen. My mother was bragging to my father about the treatment cream she had bought online. "Honey, you said online sellers were all scammers. Look, I only let Lily use the treatment cream I bought once, and her acne has already started to dry up, and her skin is much brighter. So you have to believe in science." My father also noticed the change on Lily's face, nodding repeatedly, praising my mother's good choices. He even told her to buy more to stock up, lest such a good product increase in price. My mother thought my father's words were very reasonable and immediately took out her phone to buy 5 more courses of treatment. My sister stood nearby, her childish voice sounding slightly displeased. My mother, immersed in the joy of finding a good product, didn't notice Lily's resistance and laughed. "Lily, don't you think I'm good to you? 5 courses of treatment cost thousands of yuan." Lily hid her resistance, smiling brightly like an autumn sunflower, leaning into my mother's arms and cooing, "Thank you, mother. Thank you, father. When the treatment cream arrives, you and father and I can all use it. Our whole family must be beautiful." My mother laughed incessantly, feeling that her daughter was the most thoughtful little fairy in the world. My father also looked at Lily with satisfaction, feeling that all those years had not been wasted. Only I in the kitchen curled my lips in a cold smile. Once again, I clearly realized that those 3 were a family, and I was just an outsider. They had never considered me family. After washing the dishes, I returned to the storage room to study. Near 10 o'clock, my sister knocked and entered. She held her phone, her face worried. She glanced at the cramped space, frowned, took 2 steps, and sat on the edge of the single bed. She handed me her phone. "Mia, I just searched on Baidu, and it says that treatment creams that whiten quickly often contain a large amount of mercury, which can cause cancer." So, she wasn't completely unaware. No wonder in my previous life, after she fainted and woke up, I didn't hear about her using the treatment cream anymore. Cause cancer? I put down my pen, frowned slightly, and looked at my sister, pretending to be deep in thought. Baidu search results might not be accurate, or maybe you should show this to father and mother. I'm a middle school student, I don't understand these things clearly. Before, whenever such a thing happened, I would certainly foolishly rush in for Lily. And so, I became the ungrateful and disobedient child in my parents' eyes, always beaten with a belt. Meanwhile, Lily remained my parents' obedient and thoughtful daughter. This time, without me to take the blame, I wanted to see what she would choose. My sister's pupils widened slightly, seemingly surprised by my unusual reaction. She blinked, stammering, "Mia, I didn't hear the pleading in her voice, already bending my head to do my homework." My sister left disappointed. The next day, my mother applied another thick layer of treatment cream to Lily's face. Lily didn't refuse, I knew her choice. She chose to hide her worries, continuing to be my mother's filial and thoughtful daughter. After this application, the acne on her face significantly reduced, and her skin became whiter. She stood in front of the mirror, admiring herself repeatedly. Perhaps the allure of a more beautiful face was too strong. Her resistance to the treatment cream seemed to have greatly diminished. She whispered to me, "Mia, I think Beidou search results aren't accurate. If they were, why would we need doctors?" My eyes didn't leave my textbook, and I casually replied, "I don't understand these things. I only know that you've become very beautiful." My sister, flattered by the compliment, beamed, becoming even more convinced about the treatment cream. So, without my mother even having to urge her, she actively requested to apply the mask. I heard my mother talking to acquaintances in the small park downstairs again. Her voice was high-pitched and excited. "Look at my daughter's face, madam. Before it was full of acne, now there are only a few spots left, and her skin is even whiter and brighter. Madam, your daughter also has a lot of acne. You can buy a course of treatment to try. If it's effective, you can buy more. One course isn't that much money. For the sake of our children, trying it out won't hurt. I'm telling you, this treatment cream has no flaws except being expensive." With my understanding of my mother, she was so enthusiastic about selling because she wanted to earn a profit. With Lily as a living advertisement, of course, people would believe her. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, the neighbor asked for the price. My mother quoted a price 200 yuan higher per course, and the neighbor happily ordered 3 courses. My mother happily took the money home, gleefully sharing this unexpected windfall with my father and sister. If Lily wasn't in her final year of high school this year, I would have opened a store to sell the treatment cream already. Everyone look, just a few words and I earned 600 yuan. Making money is too easy. My father also found making money easy, regretting that they couldn't open a store. My sister thought for a moment, her eyes lighting up. "Mother, many of my classmates have acne. Maybe I can find a close friend to secretly sell it. As long as it works for them, others will come to me to buy it later." My mother saw Lily as a business genius, laughing so hard that the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes twitched like worms. She kissed Lily's cheek fiercely, repeatedly praising her business acumen, calling her a thoughtful little fairy. My sister, not satisfied with just one customer, turned to ask me, "Mia, does anyone in your class have acne?" I would never sell that cursed thing. I shook my head. "No one in my class has it." My mother sighed in disappointment, feeling as if she had just missed 100 billion yuan. My father looked at Lily's beautiful face, pondering, and asked my mother, "Wife, I think this treatment cream not only treats acne but also whitens very well. Lily's face is now as white as an egg white. Why don't you apply some for me to try? When my skin improves, I'll also introduce it to my friends." My mother was surprised that my father also actively joined her venture, touched to tears. My mother put one arm around Lily's waist and held my father's hand with the other. The 3 of them leaned against each other, so warm and happy that it made one want to laugh. I wonder if they could be so emotional when the truth was exposed. That evening, my sister came to the storage room, pointing at a pimple on my forehead. "Mia, I just told Mother that you're starting to get pimples and asked her to apply treatment cream for you, but Mother said many people want to order the cream recently, and she's worried about not having enough stock, so she temporarily won't use it on you." I heard the boasting and provocation in her words. If it were before, I would certainly have secretly felt heartbroken, even running to argue with my mother. But now I only felt lucky. Lucky that they didn't love me, allowing me to grow up peacefully. I pretended not to hear the implication in her words, coldly nodding. "It's just one pimple, why bother treating it? It's better for Mother to earn money." Failing to provoke me, my sister's eyes flashed with displeasure. She didn't give up, instead boasting in a different direction. "Mia, this treatment cream is really effective. Look, now my face is not only clear of acne but also fair and rosy. My desk mate even joked that I had plastic surgery in Korea. Mercury is so strong, if it wasn't effective, would cosmetic companies dare to take such a big risk to use it?" She just didn't know that lately. She often had bleeding gums, complained of headaches, her hands trembled for no reason, she felt sluggish, lacked energy, and was easily distracted. She blamed these symptoms on high pressure, not just exam pressure, but also the pressure of a secret early romance. My sister, beautiful after her acne cleared, had been taken by her desk mate, Ethan, who had been infatuated with her in my previous life. The 2 were secretly dating to the point of forgetting about selling the treatment cream. This also saved her acne-ridden friends from a disaster. My parents, immersed in their dream of getting rich, didn't connect Lily's changes with the treatment cream. My father trusted the treatment cream even more because of its good effects on Lily's face. Lily used it once a day, while my father used it every other day, morning and evening. My father, who originally had dark skin, quickly became bright and white, looking 10 years younger. This change also helped my father earn a sum of money from his beauty-conscious friends. Of course, Lily's symptoms also began to appear on my father. My parents, absorbed in making easy money, naturally didn't think it was caused by the treatment cream. They all thought it was because my father was working and trying to promote the treatment cream, making him too tired. I had thought that in this absurd story I was observing from the sidelines, either Lily or my father would be the first sacrificial lamb, but unexpectedly, the first sacrificial lamb was her. She was my father's mistress, with a beautiful figure and pretty features, only her skin was a bit sallow. To please his mistress, my father secretly bought her the treatment cream. He replaced the packaging with expensive-looking English labels, lying that his friends brought it back from abroad. The mistress, a nurse, was very fond of foreign goods, thinking that foreign moon was rounder than Chinese moon. Having obtained such a good thing, she used it immediately that day. And once she started using it, she couldn't stop. She used it like eating 3 meals a day. So, in just 2 months, the mistress was diagnosed with skin cancer. As a hospital employee, she was immediately arranged a hospital room. My father was deeply distressed but still had to hide it from my mother, not daring to show it. My father's forced smile was even uglier than crying. In my eyes, this daughter also didn't feel any comfort. Oh, how heartbreaking, let's all get cancer together. It truly hurt this daughter's heart too much. One day, my father secretly went to the hospital to visit his mistress and was caught by my mother. My mother had always been proud of keeping my father under her thumb, never expecting him to secretly go out and find another woman. My mother cursed the mistress, then rushed in, intending to scratch her face. My father blocked her. This man, who had been spineless for half his life in front of my mother, slapped my mother twice fiercely because of his mistress, making my mother's face swell up like a pig's head. My mother was in such agony that she frantically punched and kicked my father until the police arrived and separated them. That day, the incident caused a huge uproar. Everyone in the hospital knew that the diligent colleague they saw was actually a mistress destroying another family. I hid in the crowd, watching the mistress hang her head, wanting to hide from everyone's contemptuous gaze. I was very satisfied with her humiliation. My efforts were not in vain. I deliberately led my mother to the hospital to make my parents fight each other. My father's mistress, I cared about her even more than my father. After all, she contributed significantly to my miserable fate in my previous life. Perhaps because the first enemy was about to die, that night, I, who had never dreamed since my rebirth, had a dream. I dreamed of my short and tragic previous life when I was immersed in the mud. In my previous life, after I became one-eyed and half-deaf, my parents hated me for embarrassing them, so they processed my withdrawal from school. They said I had a major accident and needed family care. But then they turned their backs and threw me, a 15-year-old girl, back to the countryside to fend for myself. I was unwilling, crying, and making a fuss. What I got in return were my father's fists and my mother's slaps. My father raised his fist, growling, "I've been out in society. If others know I have a one-eyed, half-deaf daughter, how can I hold my head high?" My mother swung her hand, slapping me, her eyes wide. "Your sister has a weak heart and can't stand fright. Your one eye will scare her to death. I see you're an evil-hearted wretch, only hoping to scare your sister to death to monopolize the family fortune." I was beaten so badly, terrified, and I also didn't want to be called an evil-hearted wretch who wanted to monopolize the family fortune. So I compromised. I was sent back to the countryside, living in 3 dilapidated tiled houses, fending for myself. I never stepped foot in the city again. Dropping out of school became permanent. At first, they still sent me 2 or 3 yuan for living expenses each month, but it stopped after half a year. I called to demand it a few times. They always promised sweet nothings over the phone but never sent anything after hanging up. I knew they despised me. This burden would never get another penny from them. I learned from the elderly neighbor to grow vegetables, self-sufficient. I also learned to collect scraps for small change. Winter passed, spring arrived, grass grew, birds flew. 5 years passed in my half-light, half-dark, half-green, half-gray world. I thought my whole life would pass like this. Unexpectedly, in the 6th year, my parents brought me back to the city. My father smiled kindly, my mother's voice was gentle. My sister even gave me her favorite pink dress to wear. I thought 5 years had warmed their hearts. Finally, they remembered me, this relative, and were willing to share a little warmth with me. but it turned out to be just sweet talk they used to coax me. Behind the false warmth was an exchange of benefits. They wanted me to donate a kidney to Lily's boyfriend's father. I refused. Now I only had one eye and one ear. I couldn't afford to lose another kidney. They would tear off their mask of affection, lock me up, and force me to agree. My mother's voice was hoarse as she persuaded me, Lily is your biological sister. If she can marry into a rich family, you are disabled. Even if you lose a kidney, you won't die. But it will ruin your sister's dream of marrying rich. You've always been an understanding child. Don't ruin your sister's good fortune at this most crucial moment. My father's eyes were bloodshot, threatening me. We gave birth to you and raised you. Your flesh and blood, skin and hair are all ours. Now, just one of your kidneys is already a great bargain for you. If you don't agree today, watch how I beat you to death. My sister also knelt on the ground, crying and begging me. Mia, I truly love Ethan. Ethan said, as long as you agree to donate a kidney to Uncle Ethan, his mother will agree to let Lily marry into their family. After speaking, she kowtowed to me, trying to bind me with moral principles. But 5 years of rural wind had chilled my heart. I didn't soften and refused. My parents hated me, this ungrateful wretch with an evil heart, cursing me, punching and kicking me, but I wouldn't yield. So they gave me medicine. When I woke up, I had lost a kidney. My sister happily married into the rich family. My parents also received a large sum of money. I, the kidney donor, had nothing left but a battered body. Unwilling to lose a kidney, I wanted to sue them. On the way to the police station, I was caught by my parents. My father, unable to stop me, drove a car and killed me. And the medicine that made me lose consciousness was obtained by my father's mistress, just because my father promised to share half the money given by the Ethan family with her. My father's mistress, after a series of chemotherapy treatments, finally died. My father was heartbroken, crying as if he had lost his wife. Fortunately, my father had torn off his mask with my mother and finally didn't have to force a smile anymore. He could cry freely. My mother, amidst my father's cries, threw her head back and laughed loudly. The laughter and cries clashed, naturally leading to another male-female boxing match. My father beat my mother unconscious, then slammed the door and left. My father, who had always secretly loved his mistress, never returned after leaving home. He followed his mistress to the underworld. My father died, hit by a car. My mother took me and Lily to identify the body. My father's body was disfigured, bloody, just like I was in my previous life. The person who hit and killed my father was none other than Ethan. He had no other hobbies, only loved street racing and casually hitting people who were distracted. Ethan's face was ashen, his body trembling, sobbing. I really didn't mean to. The car sped towards him, and he stood there motionless. But whether my father was distracted or not, his death under Ethan's wheels was a fact. Ethan's life had just begun. The Ethan family wouldn't let young Ethan go to prison. They used their influence to negotiate. My sister cried mournfully, her eyes constantly glancing at Ethan. I didn't know if she was crying for Ethan or for her deceased father. My mother didn't cry. Her face was grim, lost in thought. I lowered my head to hide my emotionless face. Ethan's father was very empathetic, as if he had lost a brother. He rubbed his swollen eyes. I know you are very saddened, but the matter has come to this. Even if Ethan is imprisoned for life, the dead cannot be brought back to life. Therefore, I think we should resolve this privately, trying to compensate you. How much money do you think is reasonable? Ethan's mother maintained her usual arrogant attitude, speaking to my mother in a condescending tone. As far as I know, your husband was having an affair before he died. A man like that is better off dead. Moreover, my son is not yet 18, so even if he is convicted, the sentence won't be too heavy. Let's resolve this privately, to avoid making a big deal out of it, and you all won't gain anything. My mother remained silent, staring at the ashen-faced Ethan for a long time. My sister impatiently tugged my mother's arm, softly calling, "Mother!" I heard the pleading in her voice. My mother seemed to struggle for a moment, then tiredly spoke, "I don't need money." Ethan's parents exchanged glances, frowning. Their rich social experience was enough to tell them that matters that couldn't be resolved with money were big trouble. Ethan's father's face no longer held its warm expression, coldly asking, "If not money, then what do you want?" My mother's gaze locked onto Ethan, gritting her teeth. I want a person. I want Ethan to marry Lily. While Lily's father was alive, he loved Lily the most. Now that he's gone, I want Ethan to take care of Lily for life in his place. Is this request of mine too much? I saw my sister's clenched fist relax. I also saw Ethan's parents' faces become as ugly as stones in a latrine pit. Without waiting for Ethan's parents to speak, Ethan quickly agreed. I agree. Not going to prison and getting to marry the girl I like. This was a profitable deal with no losses. Ethan, of course, was eager to agree. Ethan's parents actually preferred to settle with money, but my mother insisted on a person, and their foolish son had already agreed, so they had no choice but to accept. Since Ethan and Lily were not old enough for legal marriage, they could only find a lawyer to notarize the agreement. If the contract was broken, the Ethan family would have to give Lily half of the company's shares. After the agreement was settled, Ethan's parents' faces were as dark as a judge. My mother also showed no sign of joy. My sister and Ethan hugged each other, crying, acting like a fated, miserable couple who had finally achieved their wish. I wonder what my deceased father would have felt seeing this scene. He would surely be very comforted. He had once again helped his beloved daughter marry into a rich family. The only difference was that in the previous life, it was my kidney. In this life, it was his bones. After signing the waiver and the notarized agreement, my father's body was immediately cremated. 2 hours later, my father lay neatly in a wooden box. On the day of the funeral, others asked how my father died. I remained silent. My mother and sister simultaneously said my father got drunk and fell to his death. Ethan, who came to care for Lily, heard this, his eyes filled with gratitude. Only I knew the true cause of my father's death. It stemmed from the symptoms caused by the treatment cream. My father's death was like a drop of water falling into the deep sea. After a fleeting moment, it disappeared without a trace. Lily and Ethan were engaged. Lily, who was about to become a rich lady, paid even more attention to her self-care. The treatment cream was applied without an ounce of regret, from once a day to twice a day. My mother also seemed to realize her different status as the mother-in-law of a rich young master. She also began to take care of herself. The first step was to use the treatment cream. The second step was to take action to make money. The small-scale selling of treatment cream before no longer satisfied my mother's desire for money. She decided to go all out and make it big. She took out all 30-something thousand yuan of the family's savings, 20,000 for inventory, and 10-something thousand for rent and decoration. My mother spent all the money she had, feeling a little anxious. My sister hugged my mother, comforting her with full confidence. "It's okay, Mother. Even if we lose money, don't we still have me? Once I marry Ethan, I can give you money to spend." Ethan also generously promised, "Auntie, don't worry, I will definitely provide for you." My mother smiled, seeming to see the life of a rich old lady adorned with gold and silver. My mother became even bolder, even borrowing money to buy inventory, increasing her investment. After all, she had a rich son-in-law to care for her in old age. What was there to fear? One weekend, I walked out of the storage room. On the sofa sat 3 statues, their faces covered with a thick layer of treatment cream. The corner of my mouth twitched. Since when had Ethan joined my mother and sister's cream-applying team? My mother, wanting to show her maternal love in front of her future son-in-law, invited me to apply the treatment cream. I was so scared that I immediately ran away. The next day, I applied for dormitory accommodation. My mother had Lily and her future son-in-law for company. Everything was fine. My mother didn't care about me, this disfavored daughter. In fact, my mother thought it was better for me to stay in the dormitory, so she didn't have to awkwardly pretend to be a compassionate mother in front of her future son-in-law. So, she agreed without hesitation. Half a month after I moved into the dormitory, immersed in my studies, unable to extricate myself, my homeroom teacher, with a grave face, called me out. She told me, "Mia, your mother called and said your sister is gone." I lowered my head and said nothing. The homeroom teacher thought I was too grief-stricken, rubbed my head and sighed softly, "I'll take you home." I declined my homeroom teacher's kindness and went home alone. Compared to my father's death, my sister's death drove my mother mad. My mother was like a madwoman, constantly punching Ethan, demanding he bring Lily back to her. It turned out Ethan took Lily street racing, and after the race, they secretly had sex in the car. While they were at it, Lily stopped breathing. Ethan's parents also arrived very quickly, chasing away the curious neighbors. Ethan's mother stopped my mother from hitting Ethan. "Even if you beat him to death, it's useless. How do you want to resolve this?" I see that the 2 children loved each other and Lily had a weak heart. This happened, and Ethan is also very heartbroken. She was our future daughter-in-law. We are also very sad. I could sense a hint of good fortune hidden in Ethan's mother's words. The dead are gone. Lily was dead. The notarized document, which was extremely unfavorable to the Ethan family, was naturally null and void. If it weren't for her precious son being involved, Ethan's mother would surely have burst out laughing. Even with Ethan involved, his parents were much calmer this time. Compared to hitting and killing my father and Lily dying during sex, this couldn't be considered murder. Lily's weak heart was not a secret. Moreover, Ethan and Lily were both over 18. If they really went to court, it would be difficult to say whether there was a crime or not. Ethan's father was an old fox, both gentle and firm. If you insist on reporting to the police, I will accept it. But it must also be clear that our family all agreed to let Lily marry in, so why did she behave shamelessly and seduce Ethan? Or should we resolve this privately, amicably, and save face for each other? My mother also knew that it was best to resolve Lily's matter privately. If she made a fuss, my mother would still be the one losing face. A cheating husband, a daughter secretly having sex and playing herself to death. If it got out, my mother would lose face more than anyone else. My mother compromised, speaking, if Lily isn't destined for that good fortune, then the person marrying into the Ethan family will be Mia. I was almost stunned by my mother's words. Her beloved daughter had died, yet my mother's dream of becoming a rich mother-in-law still refused to shatter. Ethan's father firmly refused. No way, the Ethan family isn't a vegetable market where anyone can marry in. Thank you, noble Ethan family, I wouldn't dare to climb so high. My mother still wanted to fight for the title of rich mother-in-law a little longer. Ethan, who was deeply in love with Lily, shed tears. Auntie, besides Lily, I won't marry anyone else. The future son-in-law was deeply in love with her beloved daughter. My mother sighed, letting go of her obsession. She shifted to demanding money, $3 million. Ethan's mother had just opened her mouth to bargain when my mother cut her off. Lily's father and Lily, 2 lives, $3 million isn't much, is it? Ethan's father was very generous and immediately agreed. Rich families have a lot of money, transfers are quick. Having received the money, my mother signed the waiver again. My mother sorrowfully organized Lily's funeral. Lily's death dealt a heavy blow to my mother. Every day my mother cried, her tears mixing with her food, almost crying herself blind. Anyone who saw her would sigh, poor thing. The poor mother, before crying herself blind, emerged from her grief. Without a daughter or a rich son-in-law to care for her in old age, my mother decided to become rich herself. She started to take care of herself again, wearing the flashiest clothes, the heaviest makeup, and the thickest layer of treatment cream. My mother stood at the door of her rented shop, grabbing any passerby, vigorously promoting the treatment cream she believed in most. My mother used herself as a living advertisement, taking photos of her daily changes and hanging them at the door for everyone to witness the transformation of her skin. My mother was a business genius. My mother learned how to live stream. To attract traffic, my mother used my father and sister's stories as a tragic selling point, attracting a large number of compassionate customers online. When netizens doubted the safety of the treatment cream, my mother even risked directly scooping the treatment cream into her mouth and eating it. For a time, this safe-to-eat treatment cream spread throughout social media. My mother's shop business boomed. The previously imported goods quickly sold out. Fortunately, my mother was prepared, contacting the online seller to import goods in large quantities. This time, my mother acted on a larger scale, directly transferring 1 million yuan for goods to the seller's account. Just as my mother was immersed in her dream of becoming rich, she was reported. My mother was arrested and taken to the police station. Her shop was also sealed. At the police station, my mother told the cold-faced female officer, "Officer, your skin is sallow and lacks luster. If you use my treatment cream, I guarantee that in less than half a month, your skin will be smooth and radiant." Even at this point, my mother stubbornly believed in the treatment cream, thinking the police had mistakenly arrested the wrong person. The female officer was speechless at my mother's delusion. "The treatment cream you speak of contains a large amount of mercury. It is not what you call a treatment cream, but a cancer-causing cream. With the mercury concentration it contains, if used once a day, the time to cause cancer is about half a year. Of course, if the frequency increases, the time to cause cancer will shorten. We have analyzed the negative frequency of your husband and your eldest daughter, deducing that the true cause of their deaths was all caused by the cancer-causing cream." My mother shook her head, refusing to believe, continuously making excuses. No, my husband was hit by a car, and my daughter died from a relapse of her heart condition. Convince the female officer more effectively, my mother used herself as an example. Officer, if the treatment cream is a cancer-causing cream, then why don't I have cancer? I'm still healthy here. The female officer told my mother that the bureau had contacted the hospital. Not unexpectedly, my mother also had cancer. Mid-stage skin cancer. My mother's hand holding the report trembled like a leaf falling in the wind. She stared wide-eyed at the test results, unable to believe her eyes. How can this be? This isn't right, completely not right. My mother couldn't accept that she was the killer who had harmed my father and sister. She also couldn't accept the truth that she had cancer. But science made it impossible for her to deceive herself. Under the immense shock, my mother went mad. The police took my mother to a mental hospital. They arrested the online seller, tracing the path to the manufacturer of the cancer-causing cream. It wasn't a manufacturer at all, just a small workshop. Not to mention a production license, they didn't even have a hygiene license. All these people were arrested, and depending on the severity of the case, they were sentenced. All had to go to prison and work on sewing machines. And the cancer-causing creams that had been sold were also retrieved by the police and centrally destroyed. My mother's customers were lucky they didn't use it for long. After health checks, although some people had various health problems, there were no cancer patients. My heart, which had always been hanging, finally settled. Since my rebirth, I had always been afraid that my indulgence would harm others. Fortunately, heaven had mercy on the foolish. I didn't have to carry that burden of guilt as I stepped into my future. The police transferred 2 million yuan of savings from my mother's account and 1 million yuan of recovered goods money to my name. With the help of the police officers, I reimbursed the buyers and provided reasonable compensation. After handling these matters, I had over 1.8 million yuan left. I asked the female officer for help, donating 1.5 million yuan to the medical team researching skin cancer. Only I remained in the house now. I moved my small bed from the storage room back to my old room. Beside the bed, I arranged a dozen chicken drumsticks I had bought, lying on the bed, gnawing on a drumstick. As the taste of meat filled my mouth, I suddenly realized that my previous perception was wrong. Chicken drumsticks were indeed a divine elixir. They could heal a wounded soul and fill the body's fatigue. As my stomach was soothed by the taste of meat, my old, smoky past was also soothed. The curses, the criticisms, the beatings, the torment to the point of numbness, all left me at this moment. The long-imprisoned soul at this moment was completely liberated. I got up, walked out of the room, looked around the empty living room, and my eyes gradually filled with a smile. So, the feeling of being alone, undisturbed by anyone, was so wonderful. The police wanted to commend me because they discovered I was the one who reported it. I refused. I told them that because of my selfishness, I had delayed reporting to the police, and I was already deeply ashamed. How could I accept any reward? The female officer thought my selfishness was a struggle between family affection and the law. She not only didn't blame me but also comforted me. She said I was very brave, a kind-hearted child, full of a sense of justice. She also said that because I had broken the shackles of family affection, I had saved many people. The word, saved, made my heart beat faster. I seemed to know what I should do in the future. Returning to school, I worked even harder, almost forgetting to eat and sleep. The homeroom teacher worried about me, half forcing herself to take over my living arrangements. The female officer also frequently visited me on behalf of the officers in the bureau. I lost my nominal relatives, but gained many non-nominal relatives. Love and warmth can make people invincible. I was invincible, top scorer in middle school, top scorer in high school. My life was filled with roses, while some people's lives were filled with thorns. After the college entrance exam, I met Ethan again. How ridiculous, he came to find me to discuss marrying me. The condition was still that I donate a kidney to his father. Unexpectedly, after 2 intertwined lives, the Ethan family still coveted my kidney. It turned out Ethan's father, like me, had a rare blood type, making it very difficult to find a suitable kidney source. After learning my blood type, they again set their sights on me. In my previous life, sunken in the mud, I didn't want to give up my kidney, let alone in this life where I was flourishing. I refused without hesitation. Didn't you only love my sister, only marry my sister? Ethan blushed, hung his head, and left dejectedly, but the next day he came again. Mia, as long as you are willing to donate a kidney to my father, you can ask for any condition. I swept him out with a broom. He still came again and again. I still kicked him out again and again. Ethan's father's condition worsened daily. Ethan's mother could no longer control herself. She arranged to meet me, put medicine in my water glass, making me drowsy. I knew she wanted to repeat the process of my previous life. Too bad I was no longer the pathetic, helpless girl of my previous life. I had contacted the female officer beforehand. Ethan's mother was taken away by the police. Perhaps because Ethan had easily received 2 waivers, he also knelt and begged me, hoping I would write a waiver. My answer to him was get out. Ethan's mother was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Ethan's father died without waiting for a suitable kidney source. The company, without the old fox at the helm, was quickly torn apart by competitors. Ethan went bankrupt, moving from his villa to a rented house. One day, I saw on the news that a person named Ethan had jumped off a building to commit suicide. I don't know if it was him. It doesn't matter. I won't waste my time finding out. Under the glory of being the top university scholar, everyone thought I would choose Tsinghua or Peking University, but I chose to pursue a combined bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree at Medical University. I became a doctor specializing in skin cancer research. My first research patient was my mother, the only surviving relative in my life. Of course, I had to let my mother live on, even if it was a life worse than death. After 3 months of being my guinea pig, my mother could no longer pretend to be mad. She begged me for a gentle death. Yes, she had been faking madness to escape legal punishment. That year, I had seen through my mother's feigned insanity, but I didn't expose her. I thought that compared to prison, staying in a mental hospital was a better punishment for my mother. I don't know if the female officer found out or if the other police officers found out. Perhaps they thought the same as me. To research a specific medicine for skin cancer, I used my mother for many new drug experiments. The side effects of the new drugs tormented my mother. Her arms were full of needle marks, all her hair fell out, and her skin was festering. Her digestive system degenerated, unable to eat or drink normally. Her excretory system was blocked, also unable to defecate normally, making her abdomen round like a balloon. My mother groaned in pain all night, tossing and turning on the bed, wailing miserably. How could I agree to let my mother die? I immediately refused my mother's request to die. After I refused, my mother started to commit suicide. She tried to commit suicide again and again, and I saved her again and again. It kept repeating like that. Death was never revenge. A life worse than death was revenge. My mother was in so much pain that she vomited blood. My mother cursed me loudly. In the hospital, day and night, my mother's curses against me could be heard. My mother would grab anyone she saw and accuse me of being heartless and cold-blooded. But my mother forgot she was mad. No one believed what she said. Later, the application of new drugs increased. The side effects on my mother became more severe. Her visual system was damaged. Her left eye gradually lost sight. Her auditory system also became deaf in her right ear due to side effects. My mother became a one-eyed, half-deaf person, just like I was in my previous life. This was probably her karma. My mother lived another 10 years in such a life worse than death. She made no small contribution to my skin cancer research. Before she took her last breath, she had a moment of clarity, her face full of ferocity as she questioned me. Mia, you venomous, evil-hearted snake, I gave birth to you and raised you. Why do you treat me like this? My mother forever only remembered what was beneficial to her. She only remembered giving birth to me and raising me, but forgot why she gave birth to me. Forgot that she gave birth to me only to have a healthy tool for old age. Forgot that the process of nurturing needs to be irrigated with love. In my mother's heart, I was never a child but a tool. Now, she asked her tool for old age why I treated her this way. Had I not taken good care of her? Even if I wanted to deny these words, my colleagues in the hospital would have to vouch for me. I had saved my mother from the brink of suicide more than 100 times. Is there any other daughter who so wholeheartedly wanted her mother to live? My mother didn't wait for my answer, exhaling her last breath in unwillingness. How pitiful, even her eyes couldn't close. I looked at my mother, who died with her eyes open, my face cold. After I handled my mother's funeral, I locked myself in the laboratory. I didn't step out for half a month. Everyone thought I was grieving the loss of my last relative, needing to rely on experiments to heal my emotional wounds. But they didn't know I was busy compiling my mother's skin cancer treatment data. Half a month later, I walked out of the laboratory and stepped onto the wide, brilliant path of my life. I had overcome skin cancer. In the same year, I won the Nobel Prize in Medicine, becoming the youngest recipient of the award. In the moment of standing at the pinnacle of glory, I rarely sincerely thank my mother. If not for my mother being my guinea pig, how could I shine today? Nor would the specific medicine to cure thousands upon thousands of skin cancer patients have come into being. I stood by the glass window in my office, holding a cup of coffee, sighing, making good use of waste can also benefit the public.